Most designers fail at this. Hey friends, today I'm gonna take you through an entire step-by-step design process, including some steps that most junior designers don't do at all. We're gonna be working on a product card. Pretty standard, 2 buttons, some description text, a title, some metadata, and a nice looking cover. These are all the elements that we're gonna be working with. Step 1. Before you start moving stuff around and changing how it looks, you need to answer yourself this one really essential question. What's the goal here? The first step is to always decide what logical groups are those elements going to be divided by, because this is how the user is going to process the information. I decided to place the metadata next to the title and then separate the description from both the metadata title group and the actions group at the bottom. For now, we're using the same font everywhere on purpose. That way we can focus on the groups and not get distracted. So these are our hierarchy strips. One is the image on the left for the emotional connection. Then we have the title for the main information, the description for the optional, and the actions to basically make the people perform an action. Step 2. Typography. To spice things up a little bit, I use 2 fonts here. Gilroy, which is a beautiful paid font for the titles, and my trusted old Plus Jakarta Sans for everything else. For most juniors, I still recommend you use just 1 font, and Plus Jakarta is a really great choice. But we're still keeping it pretty simple with just 3 font sizes and a limited number of styles. That is really important. You can't go crazy with font sizes and font style. Step 3. Spacings. Now that we have our fonts created and outlined and the proper sizes for them picked, let's define the proper hierarchy of this entire thing by using space. We have 4 main groups here. First is the image, the emotional connection. That's what makes you decide whether you want to click on this or not. Then we have the title with the metadata, because most people read the title. Then we have a description, which is something not many people read, and it's basically a separate group because of that. And then we have the actions as the very last group. First thing that I do in cases like that is to treat everything to the right of the image as one separate group, and first create the divide between the image and that group. Our internal padding is 24. But I want the image to be really apart from everything else, because that kind of allows us to first focus on the image, and then when shifting the focus on the text, it's gonna be a lot easier to read it and scan it without glancing at the image every time. That's why I placed it at 32, which is the largest distance on this entire card. Then within the group on the right, I divided all the subgroups by 24. That means that the title and the metadata has a 24 space at the bottom, then the description has another 24 space at the bottom. That allows us to look first at the title and the metadata, then jump through the description, and that clear division allows us to focus on the description if we want to, and then we can jump to the most important thing, the actions. And as you can see in the last group, the space between the 2 buttons is 16. And it's small like that on purpose because I want those 2 buttons to be perceived as one group. If it was 24, then it would have been a similar space to the description, so each button could have been its own individual group. By moving them closer together, we make them being perceived as just part of one group. Step 4. What happens outside of our card? Because this is also important. Let's not just focus on the card itself, because it never exists in a vacuum. When the internal padding is 24 or 16, I prefer to go with the same number for the division between the elements. So if we add a next card under this one, it's really good to space it the same way. If you put it at 32, then it takes a little bit longer to jump from one card to the next, and 24 is the perfect solution here. Step 5. This is something most designers don't do. Contrast check. It's important to check the contrasts of all essential elements, and by essential I mean things that are necessary to complete the action on the card. That means all the buttons and all the text. As an example of a non-essential part, you see this little faint part of the progress bar here. Yes, it's really not essential because you see the 25% text in a clear readable font anyway. So even if a very small group of people won't be able to see that part of the progress bar, it won't really influence negatively what they can do with it. But once again, everything usable and important here needs to stand out and need to look contrasting enough so everybody can see it. This is a part of a real design process. You don't start with some pixel spacing values and call it a day. No, you need to really think about it in various different scenarios. You need to take care of the logic, the proper structure, the hierarchy of all the elements, the contrast, the spacing, the fonts, and everything in between. What you can do now is incorporate these exact steps into your portfolio, into your currently completed projects. If you show your UI design process this way, hierarchy strips included, you'll be sure to stand out from the rest of the people who just do the pixel spacing, if anything. This approach is also a part of my upcoming free update to my best-selling UI case study course. It has helped hundreds of people get a job last year. That's why I'm adding some new fresh content to it to make it even better. That update will be free to everybody who has the course, and when the update launches, the course price is gonna go up. Design is so much more than just pushing some pixels around. You really need to be aware of this entire process of all the steps, and if you're able to use them, you'll be sure to stand out and make your work matter. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, let me know in the comments how your portfolio is going, and obviously have a beautiful day.